Scooter heads! Yeah, scooter heads, I'm talking to you. This is the episode I've been waiting for a long time. We've got it. Innovator, designer, creator, INOKIM's Nimrod Sapir! I just can't tell you with words how excited I am to have INOKIM's OG pioneer of electric scooting, the man who first put hub motors on electric scooters. That's right, the legend, Nimrod Sapir, and a couple brief appearances from his chief technical officer, Allon Gladstone. We have got quite a show for you folks, so buckle up and let's get this show on the road. I have been a fan of INOKIM scooters from the first time I laid eyes on one. Visually, they are very appealing. They're sleek, they're sexy, they come in cool colors. Neon green cabling? Who thought of that? I love it. It looks great. And black and orange. Right now, believe it or not, my microphone and my cabling, everything's black and orange. I have black and orange motorcycles. I just like those colors. But that's not the only thing INOKIM has going for them. To be honest, to be fair, I've only ridden INOKIM scooters twice, the OXO and the OX, but they were very enjoyable to ride. They don't rip your arms out of the sockets when you get on the throttle. They're very smooth. Can I say classy? They look to me like classy scooters. I've always said that they kind of remind me of Ducatis in the motorcycling world. Possibly and partially because of the single-sided swing arm, which makes repairing tires a lot easier. But the handling, everything about these scooters just gives you that solid feeling of quality engineering. If you are going to choose somebody to design a motorcycle, a scooter, I don't care what it is, but something you're going to be using in sort of an intimate fashion, something very personal to you, and particularly for transportation, what kind of hobby do you think would be good for an engineer? Guitar player? Construction? How about this? When you're talking precision and deep thinking into every little aspect of what is being designed with laser focused concentration, I would think maybe a parachutist, a hang glider. Think about it. If you're in parachutes or you're hang gliding, the attention to detail required, because if you make a mistake, it's your life. Well, Nimrod Sapir happens to be a hang glider, and that gives me extreme confidence. Not that you're going to fall from the sky on a scooter, but just knowing he has that type of brainium in his cranium. That's what he's got going on in his melon. He's one of these kids that at the age of 3 is addicted to Legos, likes putting puzzles together, taking things apart to figure out what makes them tick. You know that kind of person, right? I've worked with engineers. I don't know who you've worked with. I don't even know what your job is. But in my line of work, I have worked with engineers. And honestly, a lot of times they make me feel like the dumbest guy in the room. But Nimrod Sapir, I've heard his name over the years. He's a brilliant designer. He has a new chief technical officer in Allon Gladstone. And I just wanted to get inside his head a little bit, see what makes him tick, and I wanted to find out a few things about INOKIM scooters. I've always been just on the edge of buying one. I've come so close so many times. And there may be one in my future. And I have to apologize a little bit ahead of time because there was an echo on my voice. What does that do? Well, aside from having kind of an odd sound, just to my voice, which, to be fair, Nimrod was doing most of the speaking. But when you're talking and you hear your own voice echo, it gives you a strange cadence to your speech, which some people may say, I have a strange cadence to my speech. I guess this is now where I'd give you my Christopher Walken impression, but let's skip that. Let's just get on into the interview. Ladies and gentlemen, CTO of INOKIM Allon Gladstone and Nimrod Sapir. Let's get going. Let's commence with the interview. We have Allon and Nimrod from INOKIM. INOKIM is a brand that I've always had my eye on. I've always liked. I really like the design style. I like the colors. People might think that it's a little bit shallow to talk about colors, but I do like the colors that INOKIM uses. Even green cables, the orange and the black. I just think the way you guys design your scooters is very appealing, and I might even say sexy. Can you tell me just a little bit, let's start with Nimrod, maybe a little bit about your background, where you come from, and how you came to be the OG pioneer of the electric scooter industry?
Just to mention, you have noticed that you have putting the sentence about comparing us to the Ducati. So I have to say that, first of all, it's very complimenting and appealing. And I think I know why. It is because in an intention of to hide parts as motor, batteries, wires as much as possible, these kind of components. But then the chassis and the other mechanisms such as folding mechanism or mainly the chassis are very open, and that is in order to have easy maintenance. So I try to keep always an affordable path for people who have to clean or change or fix parts in the electronics, a path to open a lid somewhere and take care of their instrument.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why, because Ducati is like all, you can see the chassis and it's not covered with plastics like others.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the Xiaomi, it's all, you don't see, the wheel is like it's a plain plate. You don't see much of what's going on in the guts, and I keep the lines of the chassis very clear to the eye and available for maintenance. So,
and you mentioned Xiaomi. Yeah, you have INOKIM has a very clean look, and I think tucking away the cables and the different things that you've done really work. They give it an appealing look. And you mentioned the Xiaomi. I've told people on previous podcasts, if you're looking at an INOKIM and you're looking at a Xiaomi, on paper, you're going to look like you're getting more for some of these cheap scooters that aren't going to last and you're not going to have any follow-on support to. So if you just look at how many miles per hour and stopping distance and things like that, that doesn't measure some of the subtleties like the software in your throttle and how you can sense. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like some of them, if you go off of a curb and you're using, for example, a thumb throttle and you blip it, it's not going to bolt forward, right, on the INOKIM,
Mm-hmm.
whereas it will on some of the other lesser scooters. So you can't just look at specs on a sheet and say, well, this one costs $400 more. I'm just going to get the cheaper one. There is a huge difference when you're talking about quality of design. Would you agree with that?
Let me go back to your first question. My background is an industrial designer. I've been designing products for like over 20 years for other companies. And I've seen a lot of mistakes that owners of new like new inventions or I've been exposed to a lot of things, and that taught me a lot about development and new products in the market, and design and appealing, and how to pick for the users what we call today user experience. I'm an industrial designer, and design is not just styling. It is way before. It's the design process begins with the characterization of what you want to do, which is the process of defining what you want to bring, and then when you succeed to define correct definitions which hits the target, the only thing you have to do is to do the product itself and reduce mistakes, and I believe that success comes from there.
This is Paul Somerville with Electric Scooter Guide, and you're listening to my favorite podcast, the Electric Scooter Podcast with Dagwood Streets.
Damn, you're so good, man.
You probably know that I was the one to put the combinations of the components as we know them today in electric scooters. I don't know if many people know that.
The hub inside the wheel, that was one, am I correct?
The hub inside the wheel, the usage of a lithium-ion battery as a very thin component, which people is used to know that electrified vehicle was a very chunky, or any motorized scooter at the time was very, very chunky and heavy. So the lithium-ion battery gave the opportunity of having a very, very stream and thin line, which I even took further with a design which is a little bit difficult to describe right by voice. Usually I sketch while I'm talking so I can show my meanings. But if you had looked at my models from the standing up person point of view, like I think it's 5 to 6 feet, as you call it in America,
Yeah,
you could see a very thin line. People could not understand how you press the button and this thing takes you, an adult person takes you forward. They couldn't understand how. It was really like a magic. And then the folding mechanism to have the approach of a person to fold it in seconds and click it in folded position. I mean, get it not only folded, but stay folded, and you can lift it up by the stem. And using the aluminum, which was not popular at the time with electric scooters, extrusion tube with a shape, which was the chassis and the battery box itself in one piece. And all around, doing the whole design was swiveled around the wheels, in straight lines and two wheels. The idea was to provide a very clean look and actually classical look of electric scooter, of a scooter, so a kick scooter, which was popular in the late 90s of Razors and some other companies. And they used the same technology of aluminum, and people could carry a scooter of not motorized but kick scooter. I was in New York in '99, and I saw people going around kicking this amazing lightweight scooter, not motorized. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. It was very popular in France, and I saw it in New York
Well, I own
several
one. It's
times.
called a Zooter, Xooter, and it's
Okay.
magnesium. Yeah, I do. I own one of those. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So, wow.
It weighs less
So,
than 10 pounds.
right. So this one actually gave me the inspiration of the folding mechanism. It was an amazing scooter, though the wheels were quite hard.
Yeah,
I had one as
that's
well.
the issue with them is the wheels are a type of resin, and they won some kind of design award for the bearings.
So yeah, that was an inspiration. But I'm talking about other scooters that were in the market. A Taiwanese company were doing them and selling them to Razor, and also in parallel to that, a company which you probably know about by the name of Micro, a Swiss company. They did pretty much the same.
Well, I'll tell you one of the things that blew me away when I first laid eyes on an electric scooter and rode one was the hub motor. I just thought, who came up with this? The idea to put the motor inside of the wheel. That's so crazy. And that's what they all are, obviously, now. What made you want to do that or even think of that?
Okay, so it's actually not complicated, quite simple. Electric bicycle were around already for a couple of years. And I saw the motor of the bicycle, which was also the same inside. It was a hub with spokes and then the rim of the bicycle, right? The bicycle rim was usually 26 inches or something like that. It's pretty much shrinking the same rim on the hub itself, discarding the spokes. Now, what happens is that you have to raise the RPM in order to get the same speed. Bicycle, we're driving 25 kilometers per hour, which is how much? It's 15, 17 miles per hour.
Something like that.
Right? And so to get the same target with a smaller wheel, I intentionally targeted. I wanted to use a 10-inch wheel.
I like the 10-inch wheel. I don't know why 8 inches seems to be the standard now. I think 10 inches should be standard.
Yeah, there is always a trade-off between the size of the wheel because you want it to be light and compact, and the performance and safety. Sure. It's always a balance and it's a trade-off, right? The smaller the wheels are, you get more compact, but then bumps and grips and anything goes worse. So yeah, I targeted to 10-inch, and I think it's a good size. But it's just like in cars and anything else, you have always differentiations of specs that you want to use. For instance, if you're using it for longer rides or tougher terrains, you'd go on bigger wheels. And if you go on smaller, shorter rides and better terrains, you could use smaller wheels. And you provide, us as a manufacturer, will provide different solutions for different needs. And that's what's important. And I think that is one of the differentiation of INOKIM and other companies, because we think about different users. For me, it's very important to approach as many people as possible. So
you got to find something in between, in between the Wolf Warrior 11-inch and then the smaller 8 inches. You want a happy medium. And then you have a lot of variations, different types of tires. You have, of course, the single-sided swing arm. Then you have tube tires. You have tubeless tires. You have solid tires. You have honeycomb tires. I know one of your engineers, Allon, mentioned to me, took note of something I said about tubed versus tubeless tires, that I prefer the tubeless tires. Is there some advantage to tubed tires versus tubeless?
I'm not sure you're meaning into tubeless or airless, which is two totally different things.
I mean pneumatic tires that do not have a tube inside versus pneumatic tires that do have a tube.
Okay. Honestly, we are still testing the tubeless tires. The idea was to have air tires, right, to get a soft ride rather than full rubber tires. And then the problem was supply chain. Suppliers in the beginning, I couldn't find tires, 10-inch tires. Okay, there were none in the market. Now, to make a tire, you have to go to a supplier and convince him you're going to buy a lot of tires, and in order that he will invest in a production line for you. And that was a little bit difficult because nobody knew the product. So I could put my hands on a 10-inch tires, which from the industry of baby carriages.
So you're talking about this is back in 2010?
And 10, right.
Okay.
About 10, yeah, about 2010. That's the history, okay? So I could get only tubes and tires from that industry, and that's how I started. Eventually, they got all punctured and blown because the rubber and the design of these tires was not appropriate to speeds 20 or 30 miles per hour. They were not appropriate to that. So they used to burn and blown off, get flat very easily. But slowly in the industry did develop better tires, like we know them now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in order to have tubeless tires, what you need to do is to invest in a different rim. The rim needs to have enough space for the valve and to be seal the tire instead of the tube.
Mm-hmm.
And our suppliers are still doing the rims. The motor rims is not easy to change the production. You have to change the geometry and have a big quantity for that and test. So we are just on the process of testing it, but I don't think it's a bad idea at all to have a tubeless tire. It's just that we didn't get there yet, and we're testing the opportunity, and I think it's good because it's easy. There are fast technologies to fix it these days.
To me, the ideal is a tubeless tire that has some way of protecting against punctures.
All right, tubeless. Again, tubeless, like cars that we're driving today are tubeless, right? So this is what I'm aiming, and this is what we're testing, and we want to get there.
I am here, but I have got to get there. I don't want to spend a bunch of money on gas. I have got to get there, but it's pretty far. How can I travel and still have a blast? This scooter's made for traveling, no matter where you are. I think I'll just jump on it and travel pretty far.
We have yet to hear from Allon Gladstone, the Chief Technical Officer of INOKIM. Allon, you got something to say?
Okay. Well, I just wanted to add a couple of anecdotes from our service labs. So one thing that INOKIM really prides itself on is the post-sale service that we provide our customers, because these are vehicles, and to many people, this is their car replacement. When it comes to flat tires, that's probably 80% of people that come to our service labs is for something to do with the wheel.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of things with tubeless that we notice. First of all, you need special equipment to get that tube on the rim. You need a little bit more of a skill than just having like the wheel on the rim without the tube.
Mm-hmm.
When you have something, and then you need to pressurize it. When you have a tubed wheel, you could do it at home. You just stick in the tube, with any kind of handle into the tire, and then you just fill it up. And we also provide every one of our scooters. We provide it with a hand pump, so it can be done at home. That's part of the advantage of being a tubed versus tubeless, because tubeless you would have to have some kind of a rim. I forgot what the name of that device is, but it basically, you see it in every place that they fix tires.
Yeah, with a tube tire, you can buy a $3 repair kit just off of the shelf and go home and fix it yourself.
Dagwood is right about that. Yeah, you have cheap tools today to take care of
A tubeless tire?
Small, yeah.
Okay, now the other thing that also, this was the head of the lab when I was talking to him, because we do have some tubeless models on our current lineup that we're testing, but he said that because the wheel is so small, that every pothole you hit or every time you put a little bit of pressure, you can experience a sudden flat. Whereas with like a tubed tire, it would take a little bit of time till the air comes out. Granted, if you're not, you didn't drive over like a nail or something, but it's so small that every time you hit a curb or something like that, it changes the structure of the tire when it's tubeless, and the air comes out a lot faster.
With a tubed tire, it can develop a flat on its own without even running over a nail or something.
It's called a snake bite.
A snake bite,
I
is
think.
that it?
Right, it's called a snake bite, and that happens when you're not keeping the pressure high on the wheel.
Right.
You're very right about that. When going on a bump or down a pavement or a small step, you can hit very hard the tire when the rim is actually pinching the tube inside.
That's what it is. It's a pinch. Thank you. That's the word I was searching for.
And it's pinching the two sides, which looks like two holes, and this is why it's called snake bite. It's from the bicycle world, and to prevent this, you need to keep up. That's why we always say keep up your wheel pressure high, between 40 psi to 50 psi, and that would prevent it. But it's definitely difficult to do. My old kids, I don't give my younger kids to drive, but when they're 16 or 18, I let them drive the scooter, and I always nag them to pump up, and I hustle them about that, because I don't like to fix scooters all day.
Tires. How many times have we talked about them on this show? There he goes, Nimrod Sapir and his CTO Allon Gladstone of INOKIM Scooters. Nimrod Sapir, the OG pioneer. I don't even think I was the first to say that. I think I heard Paul Somerville on the Electric Scooter Guide say that. The first guy to put hubbed motors inside the wheel of a scooter, and as he mentioned, also to shrink up the batteries using thinner lithium batteries in electric scooters. Where would we be without those two innovations? But I don't think we've heard the last of Nimrod Sapir, so stay tuned next week for another episode. The 99th episode. Wow, 2 years of the Electric Scooter Podcast. And we'll hear some more from Nimrod Sapir of INOKIM Scooters. Until next time, scooter heads, keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down.